I guess you could probably find it and I could put it in manually. All right.
Yeah, there is a stream key.
Oh, is there? Okay. Well,
So.
shouldn't be a problem next time, but for now, I'll just share it over here and post. There we go.
There you go.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool. Sorry, right when you said that, my wife texted and was like, "Are y'all doing a podcast today?"
Yeah.
So,
yes,
we are.
Thanks for interrupting.
Yes. So, yeah, and we've got a special guest today as well.
That's right, and that's why we're starting late.
Yeah,
that's why we're starting.
It's the guest's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
We throw our guest under the bus right from the start, Jonathan.
Put the blame on him. So, better be good. Better be good, Donnie. I'm telling you. No, we've got a really interesting one today. Title of this one is 11 Made You Look Secrets to Get Emails Opened and Read. I am going to be listening and taking notes on this one.
Cool.
Because I email a lot, and I tell you what, most people just ignore your emails.
They do.
If they're not
Donnie's. But not Donnie's. He's literally written the book, Subject Line Science, on how to get your emails opened. And he's even got little screenshots of like some of his open rates. It's just insane. Like I was like, really? That's seems illegal to have that much success in your life. But so yeah, why don't we go ahead and bring him on? Let me do a quick bio. Get your intro button ready there, Jonathan. So Donnie Bryant, he doesn't have a bio here, so I'm just kind of riffing off his page. He's one of the most generous guys you'll ever get to know. He's sold over $130 million worth of products and services, and he likes to write emails, a lot of emails. He also believes copy is not the most crucial part of your marketing message, so we'll talk to him about that. He shared stages with people like Lamar Tyler, Clayton Makepeace, Paris Lampropoulos, and David Deutsch.
I thought you were going to say David Ogilvy.
No, he's not that old.
That's a little before his time.
Yeah, we're that old. He's not that old. I mean, we would have been small when we did it, but
that's right.
So yeah, he dropped out of college to marry the girl of dreams. So I like him that he dropped out of college. That's a win in my book. So yeah, Bingo. Let's bring him on the show, Donnie Bryant. Crowd is excited to have you, Donnie.
Listen, dropping out of college might have been the second smartest decision I ever made. The first smartest would have been meeting my wife at college and marrying her before she figured out that she could do so much better.
Timing is everything, man. Timing is everything.
It really is.
You hoodwinked her before she figured out like anything, right? I mean, that's the secret. Like
that's right.
Before she started meeting some of those grad students and some of those, doctor pre-med people, like,
Yeah.
That was smart.
She's two grades ahead of me. So she was with the upperclassmen, and I came in as a freshman. Snuck under the radar.
Look at you, player.
Man,
Donnie also has a JD.
You didn't use any email subject lines on that one, did you? You didn't have to back then. It was all you were just Mr. Suave.
Well, see, I had David Ogilvy endorsed me at that time, so.
Nice.
I'd love to get an endorsement from David Ogilvy.
So where'd you go to school? Where did you go to school?
North Park University.
Where's that?
It's in
Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Okay.
Why did I just guess that? Automatically, that was the first thing that came to my mind when you said North Park.
Encyclopedic knowledge.
Chicago just came to my mind, and I don't know much about Chicago, but that sounds like a Chicago school.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they got some
across the street from the nation's smallest library.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if it's actually the smallest, but I went inside expecting more, and there was like 17 books in there, and half of them were Dr. Seuss.
Wow,
You
could learn a lot from Dr. Seuss and copy, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I've got a book downstairs called Winnie the Pooh on Management, which is a great little book. Like it's one of my favorite little books. It's very clever, very, very good combination of ideas right there. So
I'm writing that down.
So Donnie, give the people a little tease of what we will be talking about. It's obviously subject lines, but maybe drop one fascination bullet on us about something you might be revealing or giving away.
Yeah. Well, I hope we can get into this properly, but AI right now, of course, is like the talk of the town. Everyone's talking about and learning about artificial intelligence. And we think about the way that artificial intelligence, well, we don't think about, there's a black box involved, but as the large language model tries to come up with what it's going to say, there's an algorithmic process that it uses to put out whatever it's going to say. And our brains are kind of the same way. There's an algorithmic process where we process information as well and decide where we're going to put our limited energy into attention, because we can't pay attention to everything. I'm calling it the human attention algorithm, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Very cool. I like that. All right. So this is our Juvenile Beer Talk segment. So Donnie, you have a drink there, but I believe you're going to keep it curious, and you got a red Solo cup, and that's all we're saying. All right. So Jonathan, what do you got up there in your neck of the woods?
I have a excuse me, a Bigfoot. Okay. Having a little Bigfoot action today. This is a Bigfoot barley wine style ale. The Beast is what they call it. The beer, the legend. After the workday grind, reconnect with your wild side through our untamed barley wine style ale. This classic lives up to its namesake, massive malt body, sheer hop intensity, standing at 9.6% ABV.
Is that an 80 IBU?
It is a 90.
90. Wow. Good luck with that, man.
Wow.
Damn it, Sean. I overlooked that.
That looks a little hoppy. We'll see. Speaking of hoppy, if you will, yeah, there you go. I am having from Hoppin' Frog Brewery a peanut butter hazelnut caramel chocolate cake stout. I don't know if you could fit anything else in the can with all that stuff going on. This is 8%, I think, and it smells great in the glass. So we will see.
A lot of my favorite things go in there. Peanut butter.
Peanut butter chocolate stout. Yeah, that's... We'll see how the hazelnut
and
kicks in, and caramel. I mean, a little bit of everything, man. So
nice and dark.
Oh, yeah.
I left my beer glass, so I got to drink out of this bad boy.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, let's cheers it up. Clink that Solo cup, man. It's such a nice clink from the Solo cup.
It's especially made for this show. For this.
All right,
vibrational fact.
We rate these on a scale of 1 to 5, Donnie. You can use decimal points, 5 being the best. So give us a score, even though we don't know what you're drinking.
5.
There you go.
The perfect beverage.
5. We don't get many of those on the show, so that's good though. If you made it yourself, it should be a 5. Yeah, or else why bring it on, right?
5s are few and far between, so they get an applause, Donnie.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
All right, Jonathan, what are you giving on that Pine Sol you're drinking?
This is getting... I should have read the label, Sean. I didn't recognize the IBU until you threw that out to me. I was just looking at the ABV. So I'm giving this one a 2.6.
Okay.
This is not... It is very hoppy, pretty strong. So if I manage to make it through it by the end of the show... I'm only drinking it because it's 9.6. So that's it.
Well, mine is not.
I think I have a good beer this week. Didn't you just say that?
What's that?
He thought he did.
Didn't you just say I think I have a good beer this week?
I did because I didn't read the labels, which is pretty typical of myself sometimes. When
he got stuff carried away by the Bigfoot picture or whatever was on there. Yeah, I mean, Bigfoot's in Oregon, so you should have known it was going to be leaning towards the IPA world, right?
That's true. That's true.
So, well, my Hoppin' Frog is not hoppy at all. It's very stouty, and I can taste all the flavors. So this is the best beer I've had in a few weeks. I've had some misses lately, so I'm going to give this a I think it's going to get better as the show goes, as it airs out, like a lot of these really rich stouts do. So I'm going to give it a 4.8.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'd like to change my rating back. I would like to change it to a 2.3 because it's getting worse as the show goes. Sorry, Sierra Nevada.
Hey, don't you have like a bottle of whiskey under the desk somewhere there?
I think so. Actually, I do. Some bourbon over here. Might have to sneak it in.
Yeah, might have to tap into that. So, all right. Well, let's jump into the episode. So, Donnie, you were on the old LinkedIn's, which you do a great job on LinkedIn, by the way. Let me just go ahead and say that. You could probably write a second book on how to engage on LinkedIn because you do a good job.
I got to follow you, Donnie.
I like that idea. I appreciate the compliment there. I enjoy LinkedIn, unlike every other platform.
What is it about that you enjoy more than the other platforms? Just curious.
No, well, here
you make more money at it. There's more
for sure.
Yeah, have your checks.
I got paid from YouTube. If you count, it's not really a social platform, and I don't think I've directly made money from any other platform. The only lead I ever got from Twitter, X, whatever, I ended up not wanting to work with them, and I handed them off to someone else. It turned out to be a great client, but they sold something I didn't want to sell. So I like LinkedIn probably partially because I really took it seriously in maybe like starting in 2011, and so I actually have a community there where I'm on Facebook. No one comments on anything I do. So.
Wow, 2011. Right. That's what 13 years.
So what I mean, the engagement that you get on LinkedIn, it's obviously it's entrepreneurs, business people that are, or is it people that are own businesses, or is it people that work for organizations in sales or marketing to some capacity?
Yeah. Well, for me, I have a combination. I have a lot of copywriters globally who are in my audience a lot. So there's that. They're not paying me generally, because I don't sell any copywriting training or coaching or anything like that currently. So we're just connecting. But there's that. But I get a good number of entrepreneurs and I don't know the percentage breakdown, but a good number of people who work in organizations in marketing roles. And everyone, because we're talking about a shared interest, talking about marketing or talking about copywriting, talking about making money, which is what I think the main point of LinkedIn is. Everyone is there interested in increasing their own personal revenue. There's plenty of things we can talk about regardless of where they're located corporately.
Well, I think it's good to have a mix of like colleagues and potential clients, because the colleagues will kind of support your post and get the interaction rolling.
Yeah.
And then it gets out to the people who might be able to hire you, and some of their clients might hire you. Like there's a lot of crossover depending on the niches you're in and that kind of stuff. So
for sure, this is an interesting story. I got a really great client. This is when Joe Sugarman was alive, and this individual who's in the Chicago area wanted to hire Sugarman and couldn't for whatever reason. And I'm being a first level connection with Joe. I never knew Joe, but he was kind enough to accept my connection request on LinkedIn. And so this entrepreneur who owns a multi-million-dollar firm, he just, I guess he saw that I was a first level connection. He sent me a message and said, I'm looking for a copywriter. Should we be talking? Sure, why not? It's 2015. No, it's 2014. And then it ended up turning into a very lucrative long-term relationship just because I was connected with Joe Sugarman. Like I said, Joe didn't know me. He didn't say, talk to Donnie. But LinkedIn was in proximity in a way where people with hiring intent can see you. And so I don't think that happens as readily on any other platform.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like if you have a good first level contact, it does kind of, you get that proximity effect, that halo effect. It's like, if they can be a first connection, they must know each other a little bit, because you're more likely to know a first connection on LinkedIn, I think, than you are on, Facebook or anywhere else.
Yeah. I don't know anyone I'm connected to on Facebook. Even the people I'm related to. I don't even really know them. They're just in my family.
I get that. Yeah. Well, as I was on the LinkedIn's, you talked about your book a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was I was like, oh, I always like a good swipe file, good, anything to help improve subject lines. I write a lot of emails for clients as well. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to pick that book up. And then you and I just kind of messaged, and we've talked before, you said, you mentioned we talked on the phone a couple of years ago. And we've been in the same circles for, 10, 15 years. So it's good to finally get you on a podcast and talk about this stuff. And I think this is something that like every business today should be using emails. I can't imagine if you're really not using emails, like it'd be hard to run a business without using emails.
Yeah.
They're trying.
There are some people that are trying, especially the more solopreneur types, but everybody else is pretty big. So one question I had to kind of start with is a lot of people will talk about subject line as the headline of your email. Do you agree with that or disagree with that? Let's kind of jump in.
I disagree. Well, I guess it depends on how you define headline, but in my thinking, headline being a sales letter or something like this. And when you get to a sales letter, whether it's physical, it ends up in your mailbox or it's on a website, you got there through a different means. You may had to either click through to get there, or you went, specifically went to that website. Maybe you didn't know what you were expecting, but it's kind of like I don't want to say cold, but it's you're a little disconnected in many cases from what's happening on that page, especially with some of the ads that we're running these days. You have no idea what you're landing on.
Yeah.
In an email, there is some level of relationship because you're sending me a message. It feels personal, even though I know I don't know you in many cases, but if there's a level of perceived personal relationship, and all I had to do was say, there's a message for me here in an email. So I feel like it's a different psychological dynamic. When you see a message in your inbox, it's mixed in with all kinds of things, but you didn't go there. It came to you from somebody who has something for you. So I feel like many of the things we do in subject lines, you would not do in a headline. In the classic example, hey, that's not a headline. You could never use that. But as a subject line, it can work really well in the right circumstance. So I would say that there's an important distinction to think about. You can't use them interchangeably, subject line and headline.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to pull a swipe file of headlines and come up with a bunch of good subject lines. Yeah, you might get lucky, but it's not going to be a good practice.
Right.
So
with email, it's more like it's pattern interruption. You're just trying to interrupt any way you can. You can't. I mean, you do that some in writing headlines for copywriting, but I think you got a little more leeway in the way that you pattern interrupt when it comes to those subject lines, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Well, for some context, Donnie, Jonathan is in industrial sales, so he does a lot of fairly cold outreach.
Okay.
In addition to kind of follow up and things like that. So keep that in mind as you're throwing out examples and things like that.
I've got some later in the conversation. I'll share an example that I've used a couple of times. A lot of times it works, but in this particular instance, nothing. Silence.
Before we get into the actual 11 secrets, Donnie, I thought this was really cool what you did in the book. I don't know if you were just trying to, hit your 500 words for your essay or what you were trying to do, but in the first part of the book, you talk about some kind of foundations that you need before you even get into the subject lines. There's 7 of them. You don't have to go through all of them. One of them, it's kind of between the foundations and the 11 secrets, is the human attention algorithm. Are there any of the foundations you want to cover with the people before we kind of roll into the algorithm stuff?
Yeah. So it wasn't padding the size of the book. Although now that you mentioned it, I should have put 50 more pages in there and make more money on the Kindle Unlimited plan. But
you should just put some lines in there. Here, write your own. Model your own.
Here's where you practice. That's actually a great idea. There are plenty of people making money with journals.
Oh man, low content books.
No, don't call it a workbook. Not a workbook.
I think they're called low content or medium content books, depending on what you're doing. Yeah.
This is actually, I mean, the densest book I've ever encountered. I think I try not to waste anything. Let me tell you something else that's maybe of interest about the book, and I'll answer the question. I actually had the idea for this book about 2 years ago, and I don't remember why I thought of it, but I thought of it. I put it in a Google Doc, just the idea and kind of I had the subject line science title. I didn't have the subtitle and what I wanted to do with it. And it sat in a Google Doc for 2 years. And I was in a conversation with my mastermind small group. And I said, I got an idea. I could write this book in 2 weeks. Well, you shouldn't say that in a mastermind. They're
going to hold you to it.
They said, all right, I'm expecting this book in 14 days.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So actually I said, sure, let's go for it. It took me about 3 weeks. And it was right around Thanksgiving time last year, 2023. I put the first version out. So I actually started taking pre-sales immediately, sent emails to my list. I think I probably mentioned it on social, but I didn't really spend too much time promoting it on social media, but started taking pre-orders, which of course further commits me to doing this.
Right.
I've got money now from 80 people who wanted. Now, to me, that was a lot of people. I really was worried nobody cared about the book. So I got about 81, I think, people who said, yeah, I want that. They paid $10 for it. And so I wrote it. But the first version that came out, I thought was good. But one of the bonuses that I gave for pre-orders was an audio version, because someone said I want an audio version. And when I was reading it, because I didn't use 11 Labs, I read it. And as I was reading it, I discovered, first of all, there's a number of typos in here or sentences that I didn't completely finish. And there's some additional things. As I was reading, I realized I can add this in. And so I made a second edition within, I think, 1 more week. I was already like replacing the one that I did before. Here's the audio files. By the way, I'm going to update some things. And then I wanted to add a little bit more. So the appendices, I think there's 2 appendices in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I added more of the examples or the templates. I just wanted to beef it up, not again for word count, but because I really wanted this book to be useful.
Yeah,
I want someone to be able to, and people tell me they do it. I'm stuck. I don't know what to use for a subject line. They just pull the book and they can find something that inspires them. And I really wanted that to be the case. So I did the third and final version within probably 3 more weeks. So it was ready for Amazon early December. So I guess I started writing it mid-November. Final version was I think like the 9th or the 10th of December. So whatever that process is, maybe that's less than 3 weeks. Anyway, it was really
good.
Quick
3 editions. 3 editions in that time. Now you can do a new edition, like get feedback from your readers of their best performers and like do the whole chicken soup for the soul thing.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. This is spectacular.
Publish all the reader stuff. I do have one complaint because I bought the hard copy because I'm old school and I'm all that. So I have one complaint. See this right here. There's a link.
A clickable link.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No matter how many times I hit it, it just doesn't go anywhere.
Guess what, Donnie? I can because I've got it on my.
Thank you, by the way.
He's a techie.
Thank you for your support. I realized that too, and then I pretended that I didn't realize it until maybe 2 weeks ago, and someone sent me a message on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, where's my content? I can't click these links." And so I do need to update that. In the Kindle version, you can click. I didn't, for whatever reason, maybe the speed that I was moving with, I didn't think to tell the book designer or to come up with an easy way to make these links. I probably had to make short links or whatever for people so they could access this stuff. There's some valuable stuff on the other side. So I have to send you those links manually. Sorry, I apologize for that. And I plan on making some kind of video of me trying to hit the link. Why can't I? It'll be a fun video. at some point when I have time to do that. But yeah.
Yes. So what are your, let's pick 3 of the foundational things out of the 7. We got to leave some mystery for people to buy the book.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, we can talk about whatever you like. One of the things that is absolutely foundational. Well, here's the reason the foundations are in the book, because we could just talk about subject lines, but the best subject line doesn't matter if you don't get some of the foundational things right. And getting some of the foundational things right make all your subject lines much more effective, and to the point where you can send hey to somebody and they'll open it. If you get hey from someone whose name you don't recognize, it feels like spam. It feels like they're going to try and I just got a letter in the mail from AT&T talking about a data breach. I'm not opening no email from somebody who I don't recognize, just saying hey. And I don't remember the order with which I did them, but one of the key foundations is understanding that you as who you are is of extreme importance. We want to be known as individuals in whatever capacity we're filling, be known as someone who sends quality, valuable information to the recipient, so that they know every time I get an email from Sean McCool, it's valuable. It's worth my time to open that. It's relevant to me, and I even enjoy it. Like we all get tons of emails we could care less about, which is why, like you said, we skip most of the emails. We know there's garbage in there, or it's just not relevant, or just not interesting, or it's not fun. So one of the foundations is send good emails. And actually, even before that, the way that you bring people onto your email list should lead with specific relevant value, so that people know this is for me. If we're just talking about something doesn't matter, let me slow down a little bit. Sometimes we make lead magnets because we think this will get the biggest possible audience. How to make $1 million as a copywriter. But that doesn't necessarily mean what I plan to deliver in the email is about copywriting, or about making millions of dollars, or I haven't made $1 million myself. So how can I tell you how to do it? But the lead magnet is then misleading. And so you bring people onto the list who very quickly discover you're not delivering on what I expected to receive.
Right.
And so that will destroy your open rates forever, because people very quickly learn this isn't for me, or this isn't interesting, or it doesn't fulfill my expectation. So number 1 is really bring people onto to your list in the right way for the right reasons. There's a lot of minutia involved with that. Don't just get people to get people. You have 100 who don't care.
That's a great point, because a couple of years ago, I was running an agency. We had somebody come in and they wanted to do they heard about surveys and quizzes and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, quizzes get amazing signups. Like you'll build an email list so fast, but they won't buy a thing.
Yeah.
Because they're coming for the quiz result, and that's it.
Yeah.
And once they get that, unless it's really relevant and you can really turn how your quiz result can benefit you in all these ways, and you got to do that very quickly.
Yeah.
They'll stop opening emails because they got what they wanted. I mean, the itch has been scratched,
Yeah. And the same thing is true in e-commerce. I don't know if I put it in the book or not, but when people do giveaways, sign up for a free iPad, chance to win a free iPad.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to sign up. Actually, I don't know. iPads, actually, some of them are still expensive, so there may be interest to that. Sign up to get a new Chevrolet Camaro. Okay, they'll sign up for that. But when they don't win, they don't care. Yeah. And even if they did win, they don't care. Just let me know where I pick up my car. Right. So as a tactic, it can get huge numbers, but they're low quality subscribers. They're not interested necessarily in anything that you have to say. So even with a quiz, you may be able to turn it around and get people looped into why the quiz results are relevant and important to them, and you're the expert who can help them. But with a giveaway, no, there's no.
I even find that. I mean, if I watch my own behavior, I even find that you see this a lot in e-commerce with the 10% discount pop up, as soon as you land on the page. I mean, within seconds. I haven't even had a chance to look around yet. They're enter your email for 10% off. I'm like, first of all, 10% ain't worth my email yet. No. I don't even know you. So I'm clicking out and closing that. Now I've got a bad taste in my mouth. But yeah, that's not I was on some site today. I can't remember what it was. I meant to take a screenshot and I didn't, but they had a totally different, like they had this list of stuff that they were going to get, and none of it was discounts. It was very like unexpected, like the list of things you would get for signing up for the email. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I think I did sign up, so I'll get an email tomorrow. No one reminded me what it was, but
it's a great idea.
Yeah,
to be differentiated, of course, but then also, the things that you're giving away is deciding who's coming onto the list potentially.
Right.
If you're giving away very specific ebook or very specific whatever, and then the only people who want this are the kind of people who I want on my list anyway. And the people for whom that's not interesting, I didn't want them on my list anyway. They're just going to junk it up. So that's really smart. I like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of like if you took took somebody on a date, and the first date you said, let's go hiking, and you hate hiking, right? And you don't want to hang out with hikers. Like, why would you offer hiking as the first date? Like, it just doesn't make any sense, because you're never going to talk about hiking again. Because you'd rather like go to a movie. It just doesn't make sense.
Because someone told me that hiker girls are the best girls to marry. Yeah, you're right. That's not for you, so don't fall for it. It's a great analogy, and
So exactly you kind of alluded to this, and I really like this. One of the foundational things was the who, not the who, and you said something kind of provocative. You're like, the from is more important than the subject line, which is kind of what you were saying, but I wanted to say a little bit more directly, because I think that's a really good point to make.
And maybe it's the environment we live in. Many people, I shouldn't say everyone, but many people are looking for the shortcuts, and there's nothing wrong with wanting the shortcuts, but sometimes we skip something that we skip a lot of things trying to get to the quick wisdom. And so people say, what's the best subject line? They say that to me all the time. They probably say it to you all the time. What's the best subject line? Or what's the best anything? And it's the wrong question to start with. It's a good question to get to, but it's very important for us to realize, again, your from line matters, and you need to understand that. And maybe it was Gary Halbert. He said, he said, if you got a letter from your wife or whatever saying that you have twins, who cares what's on the envelope? It's from my wife.
Right.
It doesn't matter. And the same thing is true for an email. When I get an email from Jonathan Taylor, I'm reading it. I want to know what's inside. It's going to be good for me. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. It's going to make me money. So we have to position ourselves that way in advance of obtaining the names. When we get people to sign up for our list, we should be in a position of, again, specific expertise. I'm a business guru. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And even I think as a copywriter, you don't necessarily care. Maybe a little bit. If I start to say I'm a supplement copywriter, oh, okay, it's more interesting. I'm a supplement email copywriter. It's very interesting. Now, that's what I want to get into. And for a lot of people, they don't want that. And so I say, okay, when I get an email from that individual, that's just one example. I know that's for me. And so the from line, when you establish I'm a person who you want to hear from, then the subject line is less important. It's still important, but it matters less, because I just know I want to read emails from that individual. And you'll find, when you really got people who are interested in hearing from you. Perry Marshall, for example, I'll open anything that he sends, anything that he sends, because Perry. So your subject line or your open rate don't even vary that much, depending on. There's some factors. If you send during the Super Bowl, it'll go down, or it'll just come up over time. But there's other people who it doesn't matter what your subject line is. I don't know you. I don't care what you had to say, or I do know you, and I know that you only waste my time. So
is it important what's before the at or after the at in your from? Right, because I've seen some people who have some techniques. Right, if you usually get from at Donnie at Donnie Bryant, and then suddenly I get like, your wife's name from at Donnie Bryant. Like that actually ups the curiosity a little bit. Like, I don't know who this new person is. Do you ever use those techniques as well, or like CEO or accounting at? Accounting's a little heavy-handed, I think. If you do that
it works.
It works. Yeah, I've used it, but you got to use that one very sparingly.
Right. Right.
It does work.
Point. You see a lot of cutesy attempts, and I did one. I ran a business maybe 6 years ago, and I think we did one from the Easter Bunny. Like, people do that. That's not particularly creative, but when you throw it in occasionally, I shouldn't say that. In the book, I say I don't recommend that you do it all the time, because then you miss out on a chance to establish a strong from line. Now, to your question specifically, I think there's a combination. If it says Donnie at, or Adina, which is my wife's name, at DonnieBryant.com, you would say, interesting. What is that? Because she's associated with me because of the domain.
Yeah, if you've done storytelling and things like that in your emails, then that's going to be really interesting at that point.
Yeah, and I did one. The one I was going to allude to, we did the Easter Bunny thing, but I also sent one for my son, and we did it in his voice, a lesson he learned at karate class, and we had a picture of him with a missing tooth. It was great. It works great, but I wouldn't necessarily do that all the time. So I think, I don't know. I think you're right, to your point, and I didn't actually break it down like this in the book. My idea was being recognizable. So when I said just from Donnie, and I had someone tell me this, I don't know who Donnie is. You had to put Donnie at whatever, or Donnie Bryant at least. If you put Donnie Bryant, I know who you are. Right. But it could be Donnie Osmond. I don't want to hear from that guy. Donnie Wahlberg, maybe. But Donnie Bryant, not that important to me. I mean, Donnie, unless it's Donnie Bryant, it's not that important. So it just has to be recognizable. And your point is a good one. You can, if you mix in some different, accounting at DonnieBryant.com, you would probably open that. Donnie wants to charge me, doesn't he? Trying to take some money from me. I need to stop this, or I need to make sure the money's in enough money is in that account. So you're right. Just being recognizable is the main point.
I did that. However, you can. We did a lifetime offer one time at Street Authority. Yeah. And I did the from line from accounting, because we were doing one of those like rebate check things.
Yep.
Back in the day, because those were popular. 2012, 13, Yep. It was like it was accounting at streetauthority.com. Where should we mail, check? Man, that just lit up, right? But you can only do that once a year, probably. Yeah. But it's worth it, because it might be a $2 or $3 million promotion, over the course of a week. So it's worth it.
Yeah, you bringing in people at 10K or whatever you're selling that lifetime for. Yeah,
definitely worth it.
Yeah.
So here's a big,
let me say this: BioTrust, which is the supplement company. I think everything they send is from a different name, or it's the benefit. Have stronger bones today. That's the from line. And I think they're a huge company and they know what they're doing. And you get curiosity, but you didn't have a chance.
Is that Joel Marion's?
Yeah, it's interesting, but I don't know until you get to know that's BioTrust. I'm a marketer, so I'm looking for that. I don't know. They know. I'm not going to question their intelligence or their data. They know what they're doing, but I don't know that everyone can do that. Continually change the from name and expect for people to associate value with who you are. So I'll put.
I get why you do it, because it does. If you read, in the English speaking world, we read left to right, so you're going to read that from name first.
Yeah.
So I can see why you might do that. And it stands out because everybody else, it's like, it's just their name typically, or, maybe the company name, because I have a relationship with AWAI and I actually know Katie and Rebecca, and I cannot not open their emails.
That's
and I know they're never, like once a year, they might email me something specific where it's actually them emailing me.
Yeah.
But I still have to read it because I have a relationship.
Yep.
So it's interesting how that, if you can respond a couple of times personally to someone, man, your open rates go up for just years.
Because it's exactly right. Yeah. That's a great point. I fortunately I don't have 50,000 people on my personal list where that becomes too much. But you're right. When you can reply and people feel like they can send you an email and expect to hear back from you, the engagement, it goes through the roof.
Yeah, because then
I'll say this
you
also.
never know.
I've worked with clients in the past where we changed the from name to beneficial things, and we would see spikes, but it would level off and even revert to the norm over time. So I'm not, again, I don't know. I'm not saying that BioTrust doesn't know what they're doing. I'm just saying I don't advise that unless you plan on having a long-term data driven, to use Jerome Powell's terminology, campaign where you're paying attention to that over time and you see how that plays out. Because, and something we'll talk about later, your front line likely impacts conversion as well. So you got to pay attention to all the numbers
and all the way through the thing, which I saw. We'll talk about that because I saw a great example in one of the things about where your open rate was higher for one, your click through was higher for one, but sales were flipped on the back end.
Yeah.
So, but before we do that, just real quick we'll just cover this foundational thing because I hear this one all the time from clients, from other copywriters. Frequency.
That's the question.
Like everybody's worried about frequency, right?
Yeah.
It might be
the most common question that I get, which is strange to me, but I almost always give the same answer. But I'll put it, and I don't remember what I said in the book. Probably what I said is, you would be shocked. Most people, you won't, and most of your listeners maybe not, but many of your listeners, clients, or people who are running businesses will be surprised. People don't unsubscribe more just because you mail more. Actually, they unsubscribe more when you mail less.
Yep.
Because you're irrelevant to them, or they don't even remember who you are.
Right. Yep.
So the one you hear it all the time, right?
Yeah. I got an email today, company that I'd not heard from years, and they sent me a survey. I'm like, oh, I forgot you even existed. And I went ahead and filled out the survey because, I was like, here's a couple things you need to know.
Yes.
You asked me a survey and I haven't heard from you in a newsletter or anything in like 2 years. Like,
that's wild.
So I did the survey and I would have unsubscribed, but I want to see if they respond, which I don't think they will. But no, one thing you said, which I thought was good, I encourage you to send emails as frequently as you can write high quality emails. I think that's a good standard.
That's the answer. With the caveat that you should not send less than once a week. Find a way to write high quality emails at least once a week. I know a consultant, brilliant, but she plans on writing once per quarter. And she told me that she forgets some quarters.
Wow. That's crazy.
I don't know what you plan to accomplish with that email.
Yeah. I mean, why? Yeah. That's tough.
Thing for her.
At least a weekly newsletter.
At least weekly. Find a way to do that. It doesn't have to be overly involved. And a lot of times, one thing that people can't figure out what to say, you can do like a roundup post. Here's what we did on, you're on Instagram every day. Point to your favorite Instagram. This conversation in the comments is crazy. Yeah. Do something to be in the inbox at least weekly. Because then when you do less than weekly, that's when the unsubscribes go up. I've seen this statistics over years and it's the same.
Yep.
Between once per day and once per week, the unsubscribe rate is the same on a per email basis. When you do more than once a day on a regular basis, it'll go up because then you are kind of being bothersome. 5 emails in a day, unless you have a reason for it, don't make sense.
Yeah.
And once a week, again, people.
If you're emailing daily, you better be entertaining.
There's very few people that any of us want to hear from every day.
That's right. I mean, there's very few that I subscribe to, like Ben Settle. I'll give you an example. Ben Settle's one that I get every day.
Yeah.
And I won't unsubscribe because I may not read every email that he sends, but every now and then when I do have time or I catch something that, I see something that catches my eye, he's very entertaining. He's a good writer.
He's going to take you on a ride.
Exactly. Because it's all related to something that there's a common interest to, whether it's related to, comics, Marvel, something. He's kind of one of those geeks back in the day. I can only imagine he's probably one of those sci-fi geeks.
Plus, if you unsubscribe from Ben, you're never getting back on the list.
Well, exactly. I've been burned before by Ben, so I'm not unsubscribing from his email list for sure.
No.
But that's kind of what we were talking about before from the from line. That's like a reputation thing. Like, oh, if I don't have to read the emails.
Yeah.
But I know if I unsubscribe, he's never letting me back on the list again.
That's right.
And he stands by that, or whatever, his rules are. I don't think he has that rule, but he does have some pretty quirky other ones, but they work. I tell you, Donnie, I remember
we'll binge read, right? You say, I haven't read Ben in a week, but I got it sometime. I'll read 3-4 emails in one sitting because I'm just catching up. So it's valuable to show up in that way. To the point about the front line, if Ben switched it up, and I did unsubscribe from his list. Shame on me. I like Ben. I've been actually
your blacklist.
I feel like Ben and I kind of came up at the same time, and obviously he's much more famous than I am, and rightly so. But I like Ben enormously, and I respect him enormously. But so I say that to say I don't remember what his from lines are. But if he went and his from line was, something weird, you wouldn't necessarily know it's Ben. I know I want to read Ben's emails, but this one I don't know who it's from. So even if it's the most beneficial, cool sounding, or it's from Captain Kirk, from Lieutenant Spock, you'd be like, maybe it's interesting.
He likes to bust on gurus, which are the ones that I like to read.
Yeah.
Right. So actually, if you put Guru, Gooroo, you would probably know it's Ben.
Right. If you use some of his language, that's
right.
That dog whistle stuff. Yeah, you would definitely get it.
That's right. So, but that's why, like you said, the relationship. Even though I know that Ben doesn't know me, I know Ben, and I like Ben, and I like what he sends, and I know it's going to be valuable and entertaining for me. And so, the subject line is less important because I know I'm going to read it. It's still important, of course, but it matters a little bit less because I know I just love reading Ben's emails, so I go on and read them.
I'll give you a quick story about frequency. So when I went and worked at Stansberry back in 2009, I was on staff up there in Baltimore at the old railroad mansion thing.
Yep.
And man, part of the training was you had to sit on customer service calls. So I'm sitting on customer service calls all day, and I just hear call after call after call. Like the customer service person says, anything else you'd want to talk about? Yeah, y'all send us too many emails. Yeah, you send too many emails. Yeah, you send too many emails. Oh yeah, by the way, could you send me less emails? Like over and over and over. So I go downstairs and I talk to the email guy, and I'm like, whose name was also Sean. I was like, hey, I just got off the call. Did you know that people don't like the number of emails we're sending? And he's like, yeah, he's like, come around here to the other side of his desk. He pulls up this spreadsheet and he shows dollars and cents. He's like, the more emails we send, the more often, the more money we make, period.
Yep.
And he sliced and diced it 4 or 5 other ways. And then he, I was like, okay, my bad.
That's all I need.
So behavior and what people say and what people do is not always the same thing.
Yeah.
Predictably irrational. That's human beings.
You're right. I have a client who I will remain nameless because I'm going to talk about him a couple times here in a negative way, but they have the same thing. The biggest or the most common complaint they have is if you go to Better Business Bureau, that's the thing that they complain to the Better Business Bureau about. They email me too much. But like you said, any way you slice it, less emails equals less money. That's actually in the Constitution. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah,
I
remember
emails.
that. Article 32.
Yeah, that's
to reread my Constitution.
Yeah,
you got to get there. And if you buy that new Donald Trump Bible, it's in there.
Oh, okay, cool. That's on my list. I've bookmarked it.
Yeah. Pick it up.
The DJT version of the Bible.
That's right. They get KJV and the DJT. but it's true. The complaints, and I remember sitting on it was a training from, I think it was Oxford Club, and they said the same thing. It was 21 emails in the first 7 days or something like that, and they say it's what's the word? It was some adjective. It was something like it's really bothersome, but it makes us all the money. It does. Yeah. There's no way that you can make up for what you missed on that first 7 to 10 days. You can't. You'll never get it back. And so that's the time to blitz them. I'll also say this: that client that I mentioned, who I won't name, we had a data scientist a couple years ago dove in, and the way the welcome sequence works, at least for them, if you do get this wrong, people start reading within 3 or 4 days. Like they never read again. So some of that money you got to get right away. But also another study from that same client, and I think this is true across the board. I'm going to go and have more conversations, but one of my friends verified the same thing. But we just did a 1 year long study of making a particular offer in the first 3 emails. And the people who didn't buy that offer and didn't unsubscribe were still more valuable after 12 months, even though they didn't buy in the beginning. But having been exposed to the offer versus not being exposed, they bought more other stuff over time.
And like I said, I just heard another study point.
My friend.
It's repetition. I mean, that's what marketing, it's like the whole science of marketing. You got to hear a message. You got to see something over and over again.
Yeah.
And that also tells people, tells people that you are in a business and you are going to sell them stuff.
Right.
They're not shocked when 6 months from now, the first time you ever mention that you have something for sale, they're like, oh my God, he's trying to sell me stuff.
What is this? That's not allowed. That's not what we're doing here.
Absolutely.
That's not the relationship we have.
Established from the gate. I'm here to help you, but the best way for me to help you is to take you to another level, which requires transaction. That's it. That's right. So it's in our best interest to email a lot. I really say in the first week, and I don't know if this is in the book either. In the first week, you don't want to send fewer than 5 emails in the first 7 days. You have to define what the relationship is. Well, you're hot on their mind. And if you say, I'm going to send 1 email on day 1 and 1 email on day 7, you lost the chance. This is your chance to frame the entire relationship. And so that first 7 days is absolutely crucial. Actually, the first 24, 48 hours sets the tone for everything else that happens later.
Yeah. It's an important window.
Well, let's, we got a long way to go in the book and not much time to get there. So let's talk about this human attention algorithm that you teased at the beginning. Tell us what that is. And you said so the chapter is 3 things you need to know about the human attention algorithm. You don't have to go all 3, but man, you should read the book. It's good. Read it.
Well, here's the thing. I think that it's helpful for us as marketers, anyone who wants to persuade people, to understand that marketing isn't about just throwing out anything. Copywriting isn't about just saying anything, and attention isn't just given to anything. At least it's not given to everything equally. And so it makes sense for us. Now, one of the things also I'll say is variability is useful for maintaining curiosity over time. But we had to understand that people don't just prioritize any old information. And so the algorithm, which it's not scientific, it's anecdotal. Don't throw me to compliance. You didn't verify that. You're right. There's no study. There might be one, but I didn't do it. But in my experience and in my studying, this is what I found to be largely true. People prioritize information biology is something that we had to pay attention to. If I'm physically in danger, I had to pay attention to it. That's how our brains work. Protect the person, protect yourself. Because if you die, then nothing else happens. Or if you're maimed, then fewer things happen. So we had to deal with biology. So fear, hunger, certain desires that you have, those are things you have to deal with right away. Also, like if you have to go to the bathroom, we've done this before. You just had a pint, got to go to the bathroom, and whatever the person you're talking to is saying, it's not getting in. I was like, how long can I last before this gets very embarrassing? You have to deal with biology, and so
we've been there.
Can't you like that? maybe right now Jonathan needs to go to the
bathroom. You're priming me.
That's what editing's for.
Yeah, that's right.
He's got another cup underneath the table.
That's right. I read that's what Dwayne The Rock. That's what he does when he's filming. Like he brings a bottle. One of those bottles.
I'm over 50. I just wear Depends.
Hey, they look so much better than they did.
Yeah.
So
just get you one of those nice Voss water bottles. Voss like a.
You just had to mute your microphone for a second.
There you
go. But our emails can't get in someone's physical space, so we can't like make them feel fear, from in that way. We can't control their bodily functions, but certain words that you use can trigger those in your mind. You start thinking about things that you're scared about.
Yeah.
For if you're in a relationship issue, right, and you get an email that says, how to stop divorce. That's a terrible subject line, by the way, but just the word divorce itself. If you're already thinking my wife she was talking to the mailman a little longer than she should have. I don't know. And she didn't come home until real late last night. And then you see the word divorce, you say, it triggers in your mind a little bit of anxiety about that topic.
Yeah. So a subject line like 3 signs your wife might be thinking about divorce.
Yeah.
Now it's like, ooh.
Yeah. I don't know if I put it in the book or not.
That'll like plant a seed even if you weren't thinking about it. It's like, oh, I better check just to see if these things are going on.
We had an argument earlier this week, so
yeah, I don't know, and I know I'm kind of subpar as a husband. She may be thinking about trading up.
That goes back to what we've talked about, Sean and I, in the past. Is you're talking to people where you're basically meeting them where the conversation that they're having in their mind, right? Yeah. And you're kind of meeting them there. So it's not going to hit everybody. Not everybody's going to obviously apply. You're going to filter out a lot of people along the way, but people that are having that conversation in their head, if they've been through that, if they've been through a difficult week in their marriage, man, that's going to be top of mind for them.
Yeah. And you'll find in the relationship niche, most of it is geared towards negative things because people who have great relationships don't sign up for relationship email lists. So these people are already kind of on. So a lot of people are in a position where communication is bad, infidelity is either happened or we're worried about it happening.
Yeah.
Is divorce happening? How come we fight all the time? Those things. And so they're primed for that. And so it's on their mind, to your point, conversation they are having and the fears that they have already, or the anxieties that they have. So you can trigger that. And then again, if it's something they're really scared about, you kind of have a fear reaction in the mind, which by a lot hits the biology in a not a passive, but an indirect way. So that's something that we had to deal with. Fear is big. Hunger is big. So if you talk about peanut butter, hazelnut caramel, chocolate cake stout, my mind starts thinking about how, and it's a 4 point. Did you just give it a 4.8? I started thinking about how that would probably taste, and that my salivary glands may start working. So we can kind of trigger biology, which is a priority. I think the next thing on the list was, what was the next thing on the list? It's hilarious. Again, I should have read the book. Things that were intense interest to us. So making money is probably not biologically critical. We can live without money if we know how to. Like if you look like Sean, you can go in the wilderness. You'll be able to live as long as you want to. Killing goats with your bare hands. But if we're intensely interested in, becoming a 6-figure copywriter, that might not even work anymore. Everyone says that, right? But
it's 7 now. The bar's been raised.
The bar is up here. If how to always get swiped right on Tinder. Is that the right one? Swiping right is good.
I don't know.
Either of you should know.
Yeah, right is good. Left is you're in the trash.
How to get the correct swipe direction on Tinder.
I'm disappointed that you know that, Jonathan.
I've heard this. Damn it! Meant to say I've heard this.
You got friends. We all got friends.
That's what your boy said, right?
That's it. So but if I have a strong desire, like I'm lonely, Tinder isn't working really well for me, whatever, and I wish I could get a date. I wish this thing would finally turn out for me. And then you get an email that says how to get first date every time on Tinder, whatever. I don't know how Tinder works, but if you see that, then your desire of I'm lonely, I want to be on a date, I want to go out with somebody, then that triggers your intense desire. But we're not creating desire, as we always say in copywriters, right? We're not creating desire. We're just tapping into a desire that exists.
That's right.
So pains and problems, fears and frustrations, dreams and desires. That's how I break it down. If you can talk about those things, people are interested. Their fears, their frustrations. I'm frustrated because nobody opens my emails. Doggone it. Then it's like how to triple your open rate, with one secret word. I'm opening that. I'm opening that. Even though I probably don't believe it. You can't triple my subject line, my open rates. It's mathematically impossible. But you might still open it out of curiosity. I want to, if I can get an extra 10%, then it's worth it. And so it's tapping into the frustrations. So that's number 2. And the third one is just things that we're supposed to do, like requirements. If you're supposed to be, renewing your driver's license, you probably forget that. But then when something reminds you, oh crap, I need to pay attention to that. So that's least interesting, but we do pay attention to things that we have to pay attention to.
Yep. Well, let's talk about some of the secrets, the different types, and I highly recommend people go ahead and just grab the book. But the subject line number 1 that you cover in the book, it's, and you can't use this one all the time. You got to mix and match these, right? It's never one thing.
Yes.
There's no silver bullet in copy or anything else.
Exactly.
But talk to us a little bit about curiosity.
Okay. Well,
that's
I think one of
that was number 1, and I, in my opinion, it's like the best performing typically.
Yes.
All things considered.
You're exactly right.
Kills.
It's right.
Like you say, we're willing to risk that electric shock for a little, for some curiosity.
Yeah. We're so driven by curiosity as a human race that we will endanger ourselves, hurt ourselves, blow our money to scratch the itch. And actually, in terms of neural pathways, there are shared pathways between physical hunger and curiosity. So it's like once curiosity is sparked, you have a hunger for it in the same way you have hunger for food when you haven't eaten. I got to eat, and I got to get this curiosity resolved. I need to know what that is. And so that's why it's so effective. If you can get people curious, if you can show them something that they know a little bit of something about it, enough to know why it's interesting, but not enough to know anything else. Like you've opened that gap, a knowledge gap. I need to fill that in. And so curiosity is powerful. And actually, I think really most of these subject lines, I got 11 types in here. Most of them involve curiosity in some way. If you said 3 signs your wife is thinking about divorce, I'm curious what those signs are. I'm curious if this is happening in my life. I'm curious because I kind of already thought, she's been acting suspicious. So I'm wondering if you're going to satisfy my curiosity in this email. And so curiosity is an underlying factor in most of these.
Yeah, that's a great.
But I have, and this one is called pure curiosity, where you can get someone we're not trying to make you anything except ask the question, how is that possible? Or what are you telling me right now?
Yeah, well, I like the example you started this chapter off with. You showed 2 subject lines. One was the anatomy of an irresistible offer.
Yeah.
Open rate 14.1%. And the second subject line, a tour of the mansion.
Yeah.
34.1%. Like, I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Like,
no context whatsoever, just a tour of the mansion.
Tour of the mansion. So
now my brain, just because I know who you are and maybe some of the people you write for. First thing I went to is like, did he tour one of the Agora mansions in Baltimore? Right. That's where my brain went, but most people aren't going to think that.
No, because everybody.
I don't even know if that's right.
Story. I'm thinking Bruce Wayne's mansion, right?
Which we want to see that.
Yeah,
that's right.
If you saw Dan Kennedy did an event with Russell Brunson a couple months ago, a tour of Dan's basement. Oh, I got to see that.
Yeah.
I got to see it.
I think I saw that like 10 or 12 years ago. He did that same. He did a video around that. I remember seeing that.
There's a couple of YouTube videos with people down there, but it's like if there's a comet headed towards Earth, and I had to get to another state, I would risk. I can't miss this. I'm gonna try and beat the comet after I see Dan's basement. This, right. And I don't know if I'll ever see it again. Anyway, but yeah, I talked with a lot of people out of this email because I've used it twice actually. I used it for a client with a massive list in the real estate. But it wasn't exactly that. The real estate agency. He has a real estate, not agency. He has a real estate investing company. Okay. And actually, what we did was he had just decked out his new office. So we had a tour of the office, and it was obviously going to show you the office, and then you're going to talk about how he's doing deals, whatever. And it worked really well because we were actually touring an office. I can't remember what the test against that one was. And the one that is in the book was from my own list. But people, when I talked with them after that, they thought I was talking, not that I have a mansion, but a lot of them were thinking, oh, you're going to show me your mansion. No, I'm not. It wasn't about me at all. It was really about, if you guys remember, a couple years ago, they put the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air mansion on Airbnb. And so that's the sort of thing where I thought of that as the same thing as Dan Kennedy's basement. If I could get a night at the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air mansion, it's on Airbnb. Yeah. The first thing that I did when I saw it, how can I get there? And it's booked for 3 years. I don't think there's no chance. You had to be an insider to get that.
Wow.
But how do we do something similar for our own businesses? And so that's what the email is about. But saying anatomy of an irresistible offer, which for marketing-minded people, that's who's on my list. Don't you want an irresistible offer? No, they want to tour the mansion.
Yeah. Yep.
They would rather tour the mansion than
it's why they'd rather watch, Selling Sunset than work on their email copy that they should be sending to the client tomorrow.
Yes.
Right. Because there's that voyeurism of reality TV that has been proven no matter what we say about it. If you go back to Dan Kennedy, he talks about Inquirer magazine and, Us Weekly and all that stuff. And even going back to Eugene Schwartz, he was like, you should be reading Inquirer magazine and seeing every movie that does over 100 million, like all these things. Because we're like pop culture addicts, man. So anything that sounds even a little bit voyeuristic or pop culture, people want to know about that stuff.
Yeah. Today, right? There's a war going on in at least two places on the globe, and there's another one that seems like it's going to pop off in a third place. And we're interested in the governor of South Dakota shooting her dog.
Yep.
And I got caught in a rabbit hole because she said she's met Kim Jong-un. So I'm going down the rabbit hole of her lying about this in her book. Why? This is the least important thing I could do with my time.
Yeah.
Literally, there's nothing I could do that'll be worth less. But I'm interested because she's, first of all, she's talking about shooting her dog. She may be out of ever winning anything again. Why are you bragging about shooting dogs in America? This is craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to your point, like that voyeurism, it's part of us that just can't resist it. It's more fun than anything is interesting. The curiosity, what's up with that? I gotta know. And so my client work has to wait. The food that's on the oven has to wait until it starts burning, because then biologically I say, oh, I'm gonna die if this house burns down. But I might want to read one more paragraph because the fire alarm hasn't gone off yet. I don't know.
You know what I think it is, Donnie, about these kind of things? It's like, I think it's a combination of, oh my goodness, maybe my life. So either my life is boring and I want to see somebody's exciting life, or like with the governor of South Dakota, like, oh my God, maybe I'm not as crazy. Maybe there are people crazier than me out there. And it makes me feel better about myself to think that people aren't, that there's crazier people out there.
I think you're right.
It's why the whole Karen thing blew up. Because it's like, oh, that makes me feel better about myself because I'm not that crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I didn't shoot my dog this week, so pretty good.
It's a win. It's a win.
I'm a good person.
I remember when Michael Vick got caught for the dog fighting stuff. Yeah. I remember it was actually Halloran Hilton Hill, Jonathan in Knoxville.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I remember him saying, Mike, why dogs? You could have killed a human, but don't mess with the dogs.
Pretty much.
And because around the same time, Ray Lewis got caught for, whatever, and basically got off, and, and OJ Simpson and other stuff. But, and then Mike Vick,
you mess with the dogs, man. You
mess with the dogs, man. You mess people up. So
3 years behind the clink.
Yeah. So crazy. Well, we're We're running low on time. So what's your one other favorite one?
So I love story-based emails, but also you could do story-based subject lines.
Yep.
And we think about stories as a long, drawn-out thing, and they are. But you can imply or telegraph a story inside your subject line in 30, 40 characters. One that I reference a lot, and this is a different controlled substance, but my favorite subject line, probably one that got incredible. I wasn't selling anything, but got incredible response was I had ... and they left the cocaine.
Sounds like an Ed Lattimore Twitter post.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's heavy.
Do you know Ed?
What's that?
Do you know Ed?
Not personally.
Oh, okay.
He's been on the show.
Yeah, he's come on.
I need to go back and watch.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, he's good at that kind of stuff, man. But yeah, go ahead.
If the curiosity factor is high for many reasons, because again, I sent this to my list. I couldn't send it to a client's list. I would never work in this town again. But people who know me, they wouldn't. What are you doing with cocaine? What's the story behind that? They're not sure what's happening with that. Right. But also, any story about cocaine, there's inherent interest in the story. The way that it's constructed, it seems like, okay, there's more to this story. So people knew that there was a story involved. And so the open rate was, I can't remember. It was ridiculous. And the number of responses I got to it, and I was really just doing, I wanted to tell this particular story, and I wanted to make the point. And my ultimate point in the email was, you can't depend on the government to help you out. That's it. Don't depend on them. You're going to have to take care of yourself. But the number of responses I got was really high. Anyway, as a story, I mean, as a tease to a story, people love stories. The same, like similar to curiosity. We want to hear stories. When you put something in the context of story, it's automatically more interesting, more appealing, more attractive, less scary. People don't feel like they're going to get pitched to in a story. They don't feel like they're going to get preached to in a story. So you can use a story to get people into your message. You can communicate the moral that you want to communicate in a more subtle way. But when they draw their own conclusions, it's a stronger way. And then you can still get to your sales pitch. So I love story-based story subject lines and then story-based emails as well.
What's that Latin phrase? Mark Ford used to talk about this all the time. In media res. Yeah. Is that where you start kind of in the middle of the action? That's what that reminds me of when you say, and they left the cocaine. It's like, oh my God, I got to know. Like, I could see that as like an opening scene to a movie, right? It's like, you know, one of those like,
or a novel, you know,
like, just anything. It's like, oh my God, like what's the backstory of that? Like, I got to know, you know? Yeah. So that's good stuff. Jonathan, I know you had something you wanted to share about a real life experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me share it.
By the way, ... I use that a lot in my subject lines, and I don't know.
At the front or at the end? At the front?
At the end.
At the end. Okay.
Just because I feel like you put the ... there's, you kind of leave them hanging. There's more to come.
Yep.
And so I like to use that technique, but I'll tell you the one specific email. So I use this a lot because typically my emails go directly to CEOs or business owners, and it's typically brick and mortar. It's manufacturing companies or chemical companies that I'm reaching out to, and a lot of times, like I don't know if you've ever read Chris Voss's Never Split the Difference, but he talks about this, and I've used it for the longest time, and I've loved it because it really it forces them. It's, have you given up on this? It's in the subject line. So if I get a customer, if I get a prospect who really has kind of waffled, I mean, maybe has shown interest, but like has not really shown a lot of engagement, and I can't get them to engage. Typically I'll break out that, have you given up on this subject line? And I'd say up until like this week, I've always had success with that. Of course, I used it this week and I got nothing, response back, 0. But for the most part, I would say probably it's been like 70, 80%. You know, typically the prospect will come back and say, no, we haven't, but here's the reason why, we haven't done this. Because I think what it does is it forces them to, answer, because they don't want to be, they have to answer the negative, and
people hate making a decision. So it still leaves it open if they respond, right? They've got a little bit longer to make their decision.
Right. Yep. Yeah. This closes. Yeah. I mean, this pretty much finalizes things. And I feel like that, they're in a position where, first of all, you give them control back, you allow them to take control of the situation. Yeah. And I think that's good. But it also, basically finalizes things and lets them know that, hey, this can't continue on. It's like, this is it. And it's worked on me a number of times. And it's been, in terms of the way it's been used on me, I can think of times like, oh, shoot. Yeah, I need to jump on that because it's the last chance. So there's a little bit of scarcity. I feel like there's a little bit of scarcity, the principle of scarcity involved there that you're using. But I didn't know what your thoughts on that. I guess to make a long story short, it's been somewhat mostly effective for me, because I think it really does kind of, put them in a corner a little bit.
Yeah. I love it. And I use it too. And not just in one-on-one emails or one-to-one. With one-to-one, there's more impetus there, because clearly you and I have had a conversation. Right. Actually, we've moved towards taking action or making a decision of some kind. And now it's an ego challenge almost. I haven't tested this. I wonder if it works better on men than women. I bet it does. Mm-hmm. But because the ego challenge, we can't let another man step to us that way. You can't do it.
That's right. Yeah.
And at least we have to justify ourselves. Hold on, cowboy. Haven't given up on it. All right. Whatever's going on.
Back down, dude. Back down.
I'll say when this is over.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. No. So I feel like conjecture. I bet it would work. It works better for men than women. But I agree. I got it from Chris Voss. I use it as is as well, but also I use it in. I've used it for financial publishers at the end of a sequence.
Yeah.
Where let's say there's a webinar, right? And I'm going to teach you how to use this options trading strategy. And there's a warm up period where we get ready for the webinar. So like a hot list builds kind of situation. Mm-hmm. You opted into the hot list. Okay. You want to watch this webinar. You have the webinar. We have the follow up where we're sending you the recordings and making you the pitch. And then after 5, 6, 7 days of sending you emails, follow up emails, and you haven't bought, I've used it a lot of times. Have you given up on this? And then first name. And man, it works. It works even well when people haven't taken a step of action other than opted into an email list or opted into a hot list.
Yeah.
I'm challenging you. You said you were interested in this. And so the ego challenge, I think, in addition to the things that you mentioned, if you've gotten to a point where this is all, you're telling me there's a deadline without telling me there's a deadline. Like if you're giving up, let me know. If you want to be a sissy, I should use this language. I'm sorry. If you want to be a wimp, that's cool with me. If you've given up, fine, just let me know. So it works really well. I love it. I've in many situations. I haven't found a situation. Now we had to figure out what's going on with. Maybe it didn't get delivered for you this week or something. I've never seen it not work.
Or maybe they're on vacation. Who knows?
Well, it could be because in your mind, you're assuming all sorts of things. Like,
because Jonathan, your sample size is so small because you're doing one-to-ones.
Yeah, it's very specific and tailored, and I don't do a lot of email blast in my business. Everything is.
I think they're the beach. I think you'll get it next week.
It's probably tailored. Probably it. Yeah. And you could even still you can do another follow-up. I realize this is the beginning of summer for many people.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you're on vacation. It's cool. I'm just trying to find out where we're at. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things at play. There's some scarcity, but also there could be some like commitment and consistency, holding them to be consistent in their rationale. Like, hey, wait a minute. You started out, you started out showing interest.
Are you not a man of your word?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
If you really want to go
going
hard,
on? I mean,
good.
Yeah, I'm not above using that. I mean,
Yeah.
if it comes to it, I mean,
yeah. The other thing, I don't know if you're familiar, Donnie, with what's his name, the Charm Offensive guy.
Yeah, John Buchanan.
Oh yeah, yep,
yeah.
I mean, some of the stuff he does like that, it's much more lighthearted and fun. But yeah, those work really well too. So that's, but a lot of that is curiosity and playfulness and a lot of those things. So
all of that is different than the cold emails you're getting from everyone else.
Exactly.
And I think just like have you given up on this? It's not, like I said, it's in your face, but at the same time, I'm not being rude to you. You're putting it back on them. You decide who you're going to be in this situation.
Yeah, you're actually empowering them in a lot of ways.
Which is what the book is about, right? You're supposed to get them to a place where they're feeling empowered, or if you go to Jim Camp's book, right, where they start to feel like they're in, I can't remember the terminology, but you start with no, because now it's like they're in a position of power, and once they feel safe, I can respond however I want. And so, have you given up on this? Like I said, I think it's unsettling, but it's on you. It's really on you. And I think the John Buchanan Charm Offensive kind of stuff, I'm showing up, and I'm in my own world. I'm the alpha, really, but like, I'm having fun. I'm working with people. I don't need you, but I want to know if you want to work with me, that's great. But it's not pressure where where it seems like I'm desperate. Now, you're probably not communicating desperation, but sometimes the deadline's coming, please buy. It feels that way. If you say, hey, you want to buy or not? I got things to do. Really, I want to know if I'm ready to move on to the next guy.
I'll tell you, the uncomfortable thing for me is, so you put that headline in there. Have you given up on this? So it's uncomfortable for me because I want to add more context within the email, and what's explained is you don't.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's just like, basically the same as especially if there's a history there.
Yeah.
You don't use a lot of context. It's like quick and simple. Have you given up on this?
The more
I want to say, hey, we've talked about this, blah, 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 nope, you don't do that. And that's the challenge, is not giving a lot of unnecessary stuff along the, in the body of the email after you put that headline.
Yeah. I think Travis Sago's, I think, hit the line he uses is like, should we close your file?
That's perfect.
That's
and
really
we're like, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that. That's great.
Yeah,
I love that.
Like, ooh, yeah, that's good. Or he'll say, so are we done?
Yeah.
Travis is a genius.
There's a finality to that. It's like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
I don't want you, right. The endowment effect. I have a file. Don't close it. I don't want you to close it.
Right.
Like, that don't feel good.
Right. I want options, right? Everybody wants options. I mean, it's that whole thing. Like, nobody wants to make a decision. So if you can prolong it even a little bit, they want that, so.
Yeah.
Well, Donnie, we could talk all day about this stuff, I'm sure. This has been a great show. We've had our 4 listeners have been hanging on for a long time on YouTube.
It has fluctuated, Sean. It's gone
5. From like 4 to 5. Surprisingly, most of them are on X. I didn't realize that.
You have twice as many viewers as I usually have when I go live.
Yeah. So, and the one Twitch guy's out there playing his video games and listening in the background.
That's right. Yeah, he's playing Call of Duty in the background or whatever.
Yeah, but but Donnie, where can people find out about you? Obviously, you can get the book Subject Line Science on Amazon.
If you go to subjectlinescience.com, it'll forward you to the Amazon page. I was really not trying to do anything with this book. There's no, although I do have to find a way to get people the content, the clickable content if they got the paperback. But I don't have a sales. I mean, I do have a sales page, but it's not linked. There's no upsell in the book, which probably is something that I should feel bad about. But
Dan Kennedy would be ashamed of you.
Absolutely. All my friends, I'm telling you, I just got a message yesterday. Like, why isn't there a pitch in this book?
This is why you don't have a 2 Comma Club award.
You're right.
even though you made 130 million for everybody else.
Yeah,
I saw that somewhere on your in your blog. I think it was under Persuasion.
Yeah, I had when I had crossed 100 million, and somebody had mentioned, I said I don't track it by day, which is something that you mentioned to me. I should track it by the minute. But when I went back and looked, somebody said, I bet you're getting close to 100 million. We had spoken, and I went and looked. So anyway, I was like, I could have a 2 Comma Club award. Well, not really, because I haven't put it through ClickFunnels, almost none of it. Yeah, so exactly. Whatever. But
if you didn't put it through ClickFunnels, it doesn't count.
SubjectLineScience.com is where you can get the book. Like I said, it's this content. I'm not trying to sell you anything. There's no coaching. There's nothing like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like when people do that. I like being sold to, but I didn't have time to do that in this book. And then
repeat that again. SubjectLineScience.com. So there's no characters, no dashes or anything. Yeah, SubjectLineScience.com. My website has been on the bottom of the screen, Donnie-Bryant.com. There's almost nothing there, but you can go there if you like, and you can sign up for my email newsletter there in that box there, where you can get cocaine subject lines multiple times a year.
There you go.
Sweet.
And I'm on LinkedIn as Sean, and like we mentioned earlier, I'm spending a little bit less time there. I just got a new client that's taking a lot of time. So, but that's the only social media platform where I spend much intentional time.
Well, so we got to connect on LinkedIn, because that's where I spend most of my time.
Yeah, well, these days makes sense for you. That's where all your buyers are going to be.
I think we all need to get on TikTok. My daughter just got her first 1 million view TikTok video. 2 days, got 1 million views.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Crushing it.
So yeah. So we're all signed. So I'm going to start posting on TikTok.
You should do that. I was on TikTok for like and I'm shutting up. I know this has been a long call. I did, before I wrote the book, I did 100 YouTube shorts about subject lines, specific subject lines that I had used, or some that I didn't use, but I read and I loved. And they didn't blow up on YouTube like I had hoped. But someone said, put them on TikTok. So I put maybe 60 of them on TikTok, and the most I ever got was about 30 views, and I deleted my account. And I guess this doesn't work for me. So, but TikTok is, as long as it's still going to be as long as it's still legal in America, it's an opportunity.
Oh, somebody's going to buy that, no doubt.
Apparently,
Elon Musk will buy that.
You weren't cooking, or you weren't in the kitchen making some dish or grilling or doing something while you were giving that information out. Yeah, you got to do something else that captures their attention.
I didn't have any of those cool sound effects. You're right. Rats.
Yeah. Who's the young guy we had on, Jonathan, that did 100 videos for swipe files?
Oh yeah.
I don't remember who that was, but he did 100 YouTube videos and broke down like basically like the AWA Hall of Fame type letter book, all that kind of stuff. He did I think he did 100 of them. Really good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can't remember his name though. Sorry, buddy.
Not Kyle Milligan?
No.
Kyle's I don't know how many videos Kyle's done. But.
He was a Romanian guy. He's a vampire somewhere over in Romania.
That's right.
Transylvania. Literally from Transylvania.
That's right. We had to interview him at night.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. Yeah.
So you had the lights down, so it seemed like
it was
exactly. So, well, Donnie, this has been fun. We're gonna stick you back in the green room if you got a couple minutes. We want to do a little post-show chat, and while Jonathan does his radio voice and all that stuff. Jonathan, why do you keep showing your beer that sucked?
I don't know. It's like my hand keeps hitting a key that brings up the beer again, which I hate.
It's commitment, consistency.
That's what it is.
Exactly. Not committed to that one by any means.
Well, Donnie, thank you very much. This has been a great show. We could do this all day, talking shop with you.
Thanks, Donnie.
But I appreciate you guys having me on. I obviously haven't watched all the shows, otherwise I'd be aware that you interviewed a vampire. But I'm a fan, and I'll go back.
We've had like some really. We've had some guests on.
Like, we had Brian Kurtz on. We've had David Garfinkel, Bob Bly.
Yeah,
had some ballers on, man.
Yeah. And little old me. Appreciate that.
And now we're moving up. Got Donnie Bryant.
And settle. If he would stop.
If we could just get Alex Hormozi, we'd be set.
There you go.
Does he do other people's videos?
I don't know.
Oh, we'll get him.
I'll just say this and I'm going to shut up. You mentioned Travis Sago. He's pre-selling a book right now, which has overtaken $100 million offers. Hormozi's been in that top spot nonstop since he put out word about the book. But Travis Sago is actually in the top spot in multiple categories today. And has been for a couple of days now. So
He's so under the radar, man. Like,
yeah, well, not for long.
I mean, not among like pros like that
Yeah.
do this for a living, and
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, I just went through one of his trainings recently on the whole T3 system and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, he's
incredible.
He's good stuff, man. So yeah, we
Get
may
Travis
have to see if I can get him on. I've got a couple
That would be
contacts that know him. So
yeah, that would be awesome.
All right, man.
But
hang
thank you
tight.
guys for having me on the show. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Yep. Hang tight in the green room. We'll close it out.
Will do.
All right. That was good stuff.
It's like, who's going to press the button to put him in the green room? I don't know.
This is awkward. Pause. Okay. You do it. No, I'll do it. No, that was good, man. That was fantastic. Some good takeaways there.
Yeah, we could probably split that into 2 episodes.
Yeah, for sure. We need to.
That way we can take a vacation.
We're off next week, Sean. Take your time off.
Yeah.
No, it's good stuff. So what is this? Episode
352.
352.
Yep.
And Donnie Bryant, check out his book. We'll have the link in our show notes where you can buy it. I'm actually going to buy I've got the Kindle that I've been going through, but because I actually have the link, Sean, and like you.
I know. It's
but
fancy.
I do like to, I am old school as well. And
this is a good one to keep on your desk. Like, I mean,
yes, I love those
right there on the desk, right? You know, so it's tab it up, put some dog ears in it.
Yeah. That's the one thing about having that physical copy on the desk.
Yep.
You know, as great as Kindle is with all the digital links and everything that you can access and all that content, you forget about it. And there's nothing like having like a copy of something like that on the desk, especially when you're in the middle of emailing clients. So I am ordering a physical copy. Donnie, thanks so much. And as always, you can find us over at persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your favorite channels, including Spotify, iTunes, everything. You can find us wherever your favorite podcasts are found. Sean, it's been fun, man. We'll see you guys next week. Do we have a guest lined up for next week, Sean? I know you've been like feeding guest in lately.
No, we do not have a guest. We're gonna have to make something up on the fly.
Well, then I need to. I have posted some queries.
I did sign up for a new service. Somebody on LinkedIn, like, what is it? Talk dot something.
Oh, okay.
A new kind of platform. Talks.co. Talks like plural.
Talks.co. Okay.
So I signed us up for that. So we'll see if we get any people from that.
Perfect.
And if not, then we'll do like one of those random flights that we always do.
Those are fun. I think people love those. And you know what? We get so many people don't realize we get so many responses to some of these queries, but we're only taking the best of the best, like Donnie out there. Guys like Donnie.
Yep.
So
we only beg the best to come on.
That's right. Typically, if you got a good book out there, we will beg you to come on our show. Persuasionbythepint.com. Thanks again for listening. And you can find us again, episode 352.
I think you covered all that.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.
I know.